Welcome back, everybody. Well, it's now cold in New Hampshire. You know what? I was hoping to get something panel bonded this year, but I don't think there was one day that it was over 70 degrees at night. I don't think I saw one time. And you kind of lose your impetus when you're, how can I put this? When you're doing this stuff and you're saying, okay, good, I'll go do the other car and with the panel bond and nothing ever comes. It's either cold or it's hot, humid, and 100% humidity with everything dripping all over the place. And just everything in my friggin' shop, every tool was rusted that sat around. So I was just like, well, yeah, what can I do? But what are we going to do? Well, sad day is I got to take my rally lights off because this is the most motivation I have for the car. It's just like, but it has to get done. Then I can pull everything off. I got to pull all the stuff off, get it all out, put it in the corner. When I get the motor all out, that'll be pretty good because what it is that once that's all out, I can put it all back together and put it on the bench and weld it properly. And get everything gusseted and make sure it's all one unit. That's pretty much that. Other than that, the biggest thing is let me just start stripping this, put it on the rotisserie. And then I'll show you the brake ducts and how I'm going to do the quick release steering rack. And that's it. That's all we're going to do. Everything else is pretty basic, and I'm going to probably do a video. It's going to take me a month and a half, maybe 2 months to do it all because there's a lot of work there. And it's not a lot of hard work. It's just a lot of, let's get the undercoating off. Let's get the rust off. Okay? Let's weld all the stuff that we built that we just tacked in, we got to weld it, and make everything permanent. And once everything's permanent and I have a real good feeling of it, then I'll make my decision on whether or not I'm going to blast it myself or have someone come in and blast it for me. Because I have to run with a grinder over every bit of weld that I have here to make it relatively smooth. So, but other than that, I think I need to start by finishing up my coffee, lifting this thing up in the air, and start ripping everything off of it. That's it. Let's see how fast I can do it. I'll do a compilation just for the hell of it. All right, let me get some gloves on and let's get my guns out and start pulling all this thing apart. Well, that's kind of set up. I have it pretty much centered here. Yeah, it's close. What is, I have to make sure this is pretty much, how can I put it, level with the ground where the stand's going to be on. The back's going to be level with the ground. Is the car going to be level? No, it's not. Because the thing is, just the way it's sitting on the lift and all that, what I have to do now, go to the back and make something to fit in. But geez, it's really stiff. I'm going to add more support to the sides, but I first have to do the backs. Then I'll come back and I'll make the supports for here to there. Just so it makes it a box section. That's it. Because you have to think about every force you have and 360 degrees. You got to box section it so it doesn't move, and that's my goal. Yeah, actually, I'm happy about it. All right, one more to go. Well, this is the stuff we're going to use to bolt the back on. What it is, this I believe is from a fifth wheel hitch safety chain bar. Just some square tubing that I lined in the pile. You're probably wondering what I cut up and knocked out. Well, these are seat rails for a Ford van. They're very thick. They're at least 1/8 inch plate.
Why do I want to do this? Well, they're both equal, they're both equal on either side. So I just popped out the studs out of this, use the studs on this, goes in, it'll clamp very nice to the chassis, it won't allow it to move. And, what are they, 5/16 maybe? I don't know. It takes a 3/4 inch socket to put that on, but it's, you're probably looking at it anywhere between an M10 and an M12. So something like that. What it is let me just put this all up and also cut up some square tubing because I need an extension to bring it out so it doesn't hit the back. And yeah, I'll cut this up and make it work. One of the last few things we're going to do, I have the car up at an angle, all the fenders, everything's out. What it is, I just want to do two things on the chassis before I end the episode. First thing is the brake duct. The brake duct is, remember we made the bumper have basically channels air into this portion of the frame rail. Well, I want it to come out here. What happens is, if we can channel the air through here, this right here is a low pressure system when you're going down the road. On the outside of the wheel is a high pressure system. It works like this. This right here is a pneumatic engine cleaner. The air hose goes in here, you push the valve, high pressure air comes out. This right here is, to grab the solution. This is a low pressure system. Low pressure feeds into high and it goes out. It's just what we call a siphon. And that's exactly what we're doing here. We're siphoning the air from here outside. We're just trying to give it more air to siphon out. that's basically it. We're trying to make this tube bigger. Also, we have one consideration. On the other side of this frame rail is the engine mount. I want to terminate this leg right here, this frame rail or this box section. I want to terminate it right after the frame of the engine mount this way, because I want to create a very, very stiff structure. That way, when that is, this structure is all stiff right next to the engine mount, this is a lot less flexibility in it. At least that's what my theory. Then I'll have the hole right here so it channels the air right out. We're all good. I just don't remember, I just have to figure out where exactly I'm going to cut. So let me get my stuff on. I'm going to get rid of this undercoating, and then we're going to do a quick thing on the steering rack to, to get this thing out really fast, and that's pretty much it. Then I'm going to dump this thing out and see how much crap comes out of it. Here's the brake direct right here. It's welded on the inside, welded here. The inner plate for this is welded to the chassis. This inner plate right here is pound up and welded to this point of the chassis. It gives us the most amount of strength we can and still have in the brake duct. For next thing, let's go to the quick release mechanism that I thought up for doing the steering rack. I think you're gonna like it. All right, let me get that stuff and bring it over here, and we'll do it up. Well, these are the parts we're going to use. Not this, but this is a representation of that. What it is, here's a steering rack. It's already bolted to the chassis as tight as I could get it. Even though it's bolted to the chassis, it still moves. Well, it's always been that way. That's the way they all are. That's why you have 2 bolts here. It locks them in, no problem. I mean, they very rarely come loose, but if they do and your steering feels a little funky, check these bolts. That would be the first thing, and then move on from there, because that's the cheapest, easiest thing. But we're trying to lock this thing to the chassis and also be able to get it out really fast, have it come straight out. What it is the way the bolts are, they're angled down. So we're going to have to cut an angle cut down here so we can move this rack straight out. That way it clears, the inside portion of the hole that the steering section, this one, comes out, and that way it'll just pull right out. Also, as I drop this is what I'm going to use for a mount. Take a look. See what it is? It's a header flange. A standard 4-bolt header flange. This came off a 20-valve turbo. They have 2 of them. And I got 2 of them sitting around. What it is you put it on here. It's a 62 millimeter flange. It goes right on. No problem. And if you have these, you have it like this. You have these 2 bolts right here. You have these 2 bolts locked into the chassis. These 2 bolts locked into the rack. Even if 1 bolt or 2 bolts even loosen up, which usually they don't, but if they ever do, you still have the rack being centered by the remaining bolts. And it's a very when you center this thing, it's going to be centered. It's not going to go anywhere. Then, when you want to pull it out, you pull off the flange like that with 2 elongated cuts down here. I'm going to try and save this as much as I can, but if I can, I can't. But I'm going to run this thing straight out. That way we can get it right out of the car. No problem. At least that's what my theory is. So let me get going with this, and let's see what we can accomplish. What I have here is I have a parallel vice grip to where the bolt face fits. Second thing, I have the vice grip to the framing square. I brought it up a little bit. I have this rafter square pretty much level with the bolts. And what am I getting? I'm like with the bolt holes right here. And it looks like it's about 22 degrees. So what I have to do is I'll stand on that crate, go right here, give a 22-degree drop off of this one, parallel it, pretty much just cut it up, you know, that's all I need to do. All right, let me cut that and let me see how it works. Probably wondering why I did it with the rack in here, because I don't want to take it out and mess up what I have on the firewall. That's why. So I needed to get this thing out in order to trim it out, but it should be able to come right out. Let's unbolt it. Let's see if it comes out. Here's the bolts for the two bolts for the rack to the chassis. Now, this is the reason why I did this. There's the rack. All right, let me go do the brake duct on the other side and we'll finish up the episode. Yes, I gotta put weld in here and clean it all up, but that gives you general gist. I also have to put the other side of this right here to weld it in. But not bad. And I'll explain, I mean, what I did with this is this is from the Coupe GT for the Sport Quattro that donated the back half. I just did this. This is just a cover to go right here. I think it works pretty cool. I mean, when I have the other bolt in there, that means I got 3 bolts to the chassis and 1 bolt just holding the other side of the rack on. So I'm pretty happy with that. You know, that's an awful lot of grinding media that's there. That's about the best I can put it. Wow.
we're here. You know, it's, how can I say that? It's pretty much done. You know, as in the fabrication work, what I have to think about putting in is there. You know, yes, I got to do all the rust work and stuff like that, but that's not really thinking. That's just making it work. You know, making it look good. You know, but it's not thinking about how the process of what's going on. You know, it's like, you know, the front frame rails are now brake ducts and holding the lights and the bumper and all that stuff on. So I'm accomplishing a bunch of tasks. And that's what I want you to do. When you look at your car and you're building your car, I mean, this can be to any car, but look at one thing that it does and see if you can put 2 tasks in it, maybe 3, you know, and just, you know, reutilize everything inside of it that it will work for you, you know. I mean, you can take my ideas and throw them all away, or you can take them and run with them. Make them better, you know, because a lot of this shit I'm thinking up on the fly, you know. I'm looking at it going, all right, I think that's going to work, you know. But it's cool as shit, you know. You got a $100 car and a $500 car and a whole bunch of filing cabinets. It's like, all right, you know. But thank you very much for showing up. I mean, you know, you're not going to see this for 2 or 3 months. I mean, I think right now I'm just going to put it in the corner and let it sit for a month because, boy, am I burnt out in this car. I mean, this has been a lot of thought because of how everything's going to work and integrate. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty happy with it. You know, and thank you very much for showing up. I appreciate it. And I hope you take some of my ideas and just run with it. You know, you can do this. You know, it's not hard. You just have to think about it. You know, find something and make it do 2 or 3 things on the same, like that front, you know, a horn. You know, it holds the lights, it holds the bumper, and it has air ducting to the brakes. That's it, you know. I like the removable piece for the steering rack. You know, that I like that a lot. You know, it took me a while to figure out. You know, and the flange, shit luck. You know, and plus the exhaust came out nice, and all the other stuff that came. Everything that I did, it actually worked pretty well. You know, and other than that, thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. You know, it's on the rotisserie. It's cleanup time. It's going to be tons of grinding, tons of heat gun, tons of torches to try and get all the undercoating off, strip it all down, and then brace everything and trim it all. You know, trim like the rear suspension, just like I did the Sport Quattro. I'm probably going to have a compilation video over the 2 to 3 months I do this, because I'm not going to do it all in one shot. I'm just going to do it a little bit, and just get it done. So I want to do other videos, just something different. This has been brutal. I am burnt. Absolutely burnt. But thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. I'm just a hillbilly out here in New Hampshire. You can do this. So thank you very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day. Oh, what a mess. Why do you think you wear a mask?